Let's now proceed and talk about governance and compliance. Within this section, we will talk about getting you introduced to some of the features and tools that can help you with governance of your Azure environment. You will also learn about tools you can use to help keep resources in compliance with corporate and regulatory requirements. What happens when your cloud starts to grow beyond just one subscription or environment? How can you scale the configuration of features? How can you enforce settings and policies in new subscriptions? Azure Blueprint lets you standardize cloud subscriptions or environmental deployments instead of having to configure features like Azure Policy for each new subscription. With Azure Blueprints, you can define repeatable settings and policies that are applied as new subscriptions are created. Need a new test dev environment? Azure Blueprints lets you deploy a new test dev environment with security and compliance settings already configured. In this way, development teams can rapidly build and deploy new environments with the knowledge that they're building within an organizational requirement. How do you ensure that your resources are staying compliant? Can you be alerted if a resource configuration has been changed? Azure Policy is a service in Azure that enables you to create, assign, and manage policies that control or audit your resources. These policies enforce different rules across your resource configurations, so those standard configurations stay compliant with corporate standards. How does Azure Policy define policies? Azure Policies enables you to define both individual policies and group of related policies known as initiatives. Azure Policy evaluates your resources and highlights resources that aren't compliant with policies you created. Azure Policy can also prevent non-compliant resources from being created. Let's talk about resource locks. A resource lock prevents resources from being accidentally deleted or changed. Even with Azure role-based access policies in place, there's still a risk that people with the right level access could delete critical cloud resources. Resource locks prevents resources from being deleted or updated depending on the type of lock. Resources locks can be applied to individual resources, resource groups, or even an entire subscription. Resource locks are inherited, meaning that if you place a resource lock on one resource group, all of the resources within that resource group will also have the resource lock applied. Types of resource locks. There are two types of resource locks. One that prevents users from deleting and one that prevents users from changing or deleting a resource. Deletes mean authorized users can still read and modify a resource, but they can't delete the resource. Read only means the authorized user can read the resource, but they can't delete or update the resource. Applying this lock is similar to restricting all users to the permissions granted by the read role. The Microsoft Service Trust Portal is a portal that provides access to various content, tools, and other resources about Microsoft's security, privacy, and compliance practices. The Microsoft Trust Portal contains detail about Microsoft implementations of controls and processes that protect our cloud services and the customer's data therein. To access some of the resources on the Service Trust Portal, you must sign in as an authorized, authenticated user with your Microsoft Cloud Services account. You'll need to review and accept the Microsoft Non-Disclosure Agreement for the compliance materials.